Hello, everyone. So grateful to be here with you today. The energies are a lot. So, just encouraging you to take a moment and just get a reference for where you are in this moment. Maybe you've been distracted and busy and whatever, and you haven't taken time to just scan to see where you are energetically and maybe what you're feeling, what you're sensing, if you're a little tired or not, if you're really energized. Just take a minute to notice and maybe jot it down. Maybe just reference scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most optimal. Where are you on that scale? And that will give you a reference for you to be able to anchor in when we complete today any shifts or changes that did or did not occur for you. And when I'm feeling into this new way of being divine transmission of light, the Council of Light prompted me to offer this very spontaneously. And so you might have noticed there wasn't a lot of notice. And it's because things are shifting so quickly now, jumping timelines, dimensions merging. And they want me to speak a little bit to this idea of there being this from a place of looking at it linearly, from a place of looking, like translating what's happening energetically, cosmically, from a place of oneness into a linear perspective. There is a split happening, and it has been happening. You could say it's two worlds. And we're going to use these terms just to help the mind, so we can have a conversation about it that makes sense to the mind. And so there's a 3D Earth, and then there's 5D and beyond Earth. And think of that as kind of a notation of frequency. A notation of 3D Earth is still functioning very much in an identification of polarity and not really even reaching for anything outside of that reality. It's just, this is what is. It's the survival consciousness. It's the separation consciousness. And we're going to continue to operate within that. That's 3D Earth. And some of humanity's there. And there's nothing wrong or bad about that. Then there is the ascending Earth, the 5D and beyond Earth, that is a frequency, is an energetic platform that does exist, that has already actualized in that dimension where it exists, that we can choose to abide in, that we can choose to function. It's like according to those rules. Those rules are frequencies. That's the structure of the templates of the grids of 5D Earth and beyond. It's unity consciousness, it's love, it's compassion, it's connection, it's knowing of one with source. And so what happens is we can slip in and out of that and go back to 3D and then come back to 5D and so on and so forth. And then there's a 4D, which is kind of the in between the two. Not to confuse 4D with 5D, because they're very, very different frequencies. 4D is, you could say, the bridge where, for those who are beginning to awaken beyond the 3D, this is all there is, into the 5D. And so take a moment and just notice where your focus has been, where your mind has been. Has it been perceiving, no judgment, just notice. The feedback is so important because then it allows us to know where we are. Has your mind, has your attention, has your awareness, even your emotions been focused on a separation-based push-pull dynamic, lack, limitation, fear, not enoughness? Or have you been more often, more frequently, and maybe full-time in the oneness, the connection, the recognition that when something does come up to be seen, what it's for, pick up your tools, utilize the tools. So just because we have triggers arise or things surface that are basically coming to the surface in order to transform, in order to be seen, in order to be integrated fully so that we can consistently abide in the 5D and beyond, new earth energetic. Just because the things are coming up does not mean we are not choosing the unity consciousness. It means we're in the process of lightening the load so that we can abide in the 5D consciousness full time. That's the process. As we graduate out of the 3D into the 5D, there is this crossover time of where we're being invited to very consciously, ideally, very consciously and empowered, recognize that whatever's coming up for me is coming up to transform because I'm choosing ascension, because I'm choosing the path into the higher octave as my permanent residence. And everything else that I can't take with me, that can't go there because it's at a different frequency. It's in the 4D, it's in the 3D. I can't sustain that in the 5D. It's not compatible. It's going to come up in order for me to meet it anew, ideally with compassion and presence and empowerment, recognizing that it most likely represents a very old wound that I haven't fully healed, transformed, integrated. And so we do this one step at a time. We do this by taking the hand of our higher self and allowing for the energetic shifts that wish to occur, the vibrational shifts, ideally. Ideally, we're seeing it as that's what wishes to occur, is a vibrational shift here. A new energetic stance wants to birth within me. Some part of me wants to meet this from a very different perspective in an empowered way, seeing it for what it is, not me as a victim, or this is happening to me, but this is something I experienced at some point that represents a frequency, a resonance, a wound that hasn't fully been used for my evolution. And we are so wise that you basically went through all these experiences in the 3D. You gathered all this data, you gathered all this fuel that you get to use now to evolve, to ascend. Yay, you gathered the fuel, you have the fuel, you have everything you need to ascend. You are ascending, or you wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't have connected to it energetically. And so can you take a moment and just acknowledge that whatever challenges, issues, triggers, things that have you feeling a little disoriented, discombobulated, not fully aligned, that all of that is for you. And you designed it specifically so that you could use it to make this quantum leap in consciousness at this time. Because you got to a place where you're conscious, awake, and aware enough to utilize it as rocket fuel. Then you move into the empowered relationship with it. Then you move into a very different energetic stance, which again is part of what's being invited, is that new stance in how we're perceiving it and how we're relating to it, how we're approaching it, what we're seeing it as. What have we decided it means? Does it mean we're not evolved enough, or does it mean we're highly evolved and very, very wise to where we made sure we would have enough separation-based experiences to use for our evolution when it was time to leap out of separation consciousness? We would need all those unprocessed emotions to ride the waves now into higher octaves, because we knew in this incarnation, it was different than other times where we've ascended. We are taking the body deva with us, or rather the body deva is going with us. So we've done this before zillions of times as spirit, as etheric beings. The new first time for us is we have a body deva that we're riding tandem with, that we volunteered and were chosen to help assist through this gateway, through this corridor, so that the body devas of Earth could ascend with Gaia Earth. And that is sacred, and that is lovely, and that is oneness at its finest. And you are here because you're ready to be conscious of that, more conscious of that. Oh, my body deva is going with me. And yes, my body deva may have experienced all these traumas in previous incarnations. And I, have a soul, have been maybe working consciously most of this lifetime to process my traumas. But has the body deva given the space, been given the space in an empowered way to move through its version of healing that it needs to, its vibrational transformation? Or was the focus all on you as a soul? And if it was, that's okay. That's part of it. That's the journey. You go first, and then the body deva feels safe to go too. So for most of you, or all of you here, being shown over 99%. So at some point, someone might visit this that doesn't meet this criteria, but everyone here pretty much has been working on evolving, healing, growing. And probably for the majority of that journey, you weren't conscious of the body, deva, nature, spirit, that it was also part of the equation, that it was a partner in this particular dance, a colleague in this particular phase. And that it's ideally, doesn't have to be, but ideally, for those of us who are playing the role of wayshowers, who are first penguins in the water, who said, I'll go first, we are meant to, again, ideally, because it's the most efficient, consciously work with our body devas through this time with great compassion, not trying to rush them, holding space for them to be where they are with no judgment, because they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot. And they have felt, prior to this time of you being aware of them, forgotten, like they didn't matter, like their voice didn't matter, their choice didn't matter, like they don't get to have an input. And that then generates this sense of not feeling like they're enough. And ideally, with this particular corridor, we support the body in remembering not only are you enough, you are more than enough, so that it can very empowered, in an empowered way, navigate this corridor, because that's a much easier ride. When the body deva feels capable and empowered to navigate this corridor, it's a much easier ride. So you as a soul may have worked on the balancing of all aspects of you, but the body, deva, nature, spirit may not have, not consciously anyway. And so for this particular phase of the journey that we're in, there are different soul groups in different places in evolution, but this soul group that joined here, that is doing this work in this way with us as a oneness, as a collective, we're on the step of, it's like embracing the body deva, but not in a savior way. It's this idea of embracing that relationship as sacred, embracing that relationship as, it's like when you embrace your body deva, you're embracing Gaia Earth. So it's this partnership, it's this, it's a sacred collaboration that we are doing with Gaia Earth. It's why we came, to support this particular shift in consciousness, graduation from separation to unity. It's like a whole new operating system is birthing for Gaia Earth. And for all the body devas, it's brand new as humans, like body deva humans. They've been living for lifetimes as humans in separation consciousness. So it's a lot to ask them to completely let go of everything they think they know and the survival consciousness they've been abiding in for so long, to leave that behind in order to move into a whole new way of being and new ways of being in oneness. And so it's happening. And we're going to bring in a process to help with, because what I was shown with this particular group today and this transmission, and those who listen to the recording, what we would like to support each of you in is connecting to greater balance, greater harmony within your experience of ascension, within your experience of this particular graduation. Like they're just showing me again the idea of moving out of the polarity, the 3D, into 5D and beyond, new earth, and bring you to a place of completion in a greater way, anywhere where we're in battle with the 3D, the polarity, because that will keep us linked in with it. It perpetuates it. As long as we've decided that the 3D or the polarity is right, wrong, good, or bad, we have an attachment to it being something, like having certain meaning for us. And when it has a certain meaning for us, it's like we're keeping it. We've adopted it as part of our consciousness and we keep it. We're still tethered to it. We're still attached to it. They're just showing me cords going out into those grids of separation consciousness where we're maybe trying to control, shift, change, make it different. And instead of trying to manipulate the separation consciousness grids, because there's nothing wrong or bad with that, humanity will continue, some of humanity will continue on that path for some time and not transition. It's like they're not ascending. Not all of humanity will ascend. And so there might be this false belief that, well, I can't ascend, or I won't get to have my utopia, my everything I want to have until humanity wakes up or ascends. Not all of humanity is going to ascend, and not all of humanity will wake up. And so what would it feel like to let go of anywhere you've given humanity responsibility to wake up in order for you to have whatever it is you're wanting? The grace and ease, the support, the peace, the love, the bliss, the everything working out. And so just taking a deep breath in, inviting you at the level of your higher self, body Davis higher self in teams, to reference anywhere you've placed attachment on humanity, on Gaia Earth, on the external, anything in the external, that this needs to change. This 3D play out, image, experience, situation, organization, person, consciousness needs to change in order for me to have what it is I desire. Now recognize that that's separation consciousness in a nutshell. We've given responsibility to humanity's evolution, humanity's growth, humanity's behavior or decisions of where they're going to choose to be or not be in consciousness. We've given that responsibility for what we get to have. So take a moment, retrieve all responsibility, you body teams, at the level of your higher self, use your energetic fields to retrieve all responsibility for your desires, for what you wish to manifest for you, create for you, experience for you. Whether it's your peace, connection, love, support, balance, flow. It's almost like peace keeps coming in. It's like I can relax when humanity wakes up or quits their polarity play out, whatever it is, the battle, the struggle. They're loud right now. The collective is loud. They're going to be loud. It's the end of a great grand cycle. They've got a lot of stuff coming up to process that they have no idea how to process it. So it's being projected externally onto everyone and everything. So let them be in that. And so what would it feel like to allow humanity to be in the struggle, in the loud, in the messy, for as long as they need to. It's like a mud wrestling arena. And to not participate in it. And that's where it can get tricky. We're not saying you can't participate in it, but if you choose to, that will link you in to the consciousness that we would venture to guess, if you're here, you're wanting to graduate out of. And so take a moment, and are you willing to release all the meaning you've given, whatever it is, however you're linked into humanity's struggle, humanity's mud wrestling, whether it's politics, whether it's conflict, whether it's control and manipulation, like this idea of not full truths being told. Are you willing to release the meaning you've given it so it can be reinterpreted to a higher octave for you? And release all your attachment off of it. We're going to show you how to do that. And then we're also going to speak to the recognition that if it wasn't one wrestling match, it would be another. In other words, the polarity has to play out somehow. And so what's getting really loud right now is the lack, the limitation, the perceptions of separation and fear that is separation consciousness. It's getting louder so individuals can see it. And ideally, if they choose to ascend, they would awaken. It would help them awaken to it so they could choose in the direction of the ascension. But again, that's not that ascension is better than not ascending. If they're not ready to ascend, they'll continue to be in the wrestling matches through the end of this incarnation, and then they'll reincarnate onto another platform that is doing the 3D polarity learning that they're not done yet. They need to learn more. It'd be like a third grader that's in its third grade curriculum. And there's nothing wrong with the third grade curriculum. It just is what it is. We've all done it. You've all been in it at some point in your evolution. And so they're in the third grade curriculum, and maybe they move to a different planetary system or even galaxy to continue that third grade curriculum until they're ready to graduate beyond it. And so if we can see it from that perspective, recognizing that whatever scenarios are currently playing out in the outer world, and we could dive into a 4D of looking at what's actually playing out and navigating through that, because that's also important to know in this time of end of great grand cycle, beginning of next great grand cycle, to make sure you're staying on the path you wish to be on. And that would be a lifting the veil offering that we're probably going to be offering in the near future. So watch for that. But for purposes of this transmission, recognize that whatever the story is, the version of the 3D polarity play out, if it wasn't what's currently playing out, it would be something else with the same pattern and the same frequency with a different script, but it would be playing out. And one of the reasons why there's a really big challenge right now for those who are psychic to tell the future is that it's shifting in every moment. And so this version of the story could shift on a dime. And how you perceive this version of the story could shift on a dime as you evolve. So we want to stay open to the reinterpretation. And the only way to do that is to be willing to release the meaning we've given it, to be willing to release the judgments and conclusions of the story, of the mud wrestling match, who we think is right, wrong, good, or bad. Are you willing to do that? Because that's what creates your attachment to it. That's what gets you tangled in the wrestling match and in the mud pit with the collective, is you start to attempt to take a side and root for something from the place of separation consciousness, thinking one side's right, one side's wrong, when it's actually a oneness playing out that's allowing for the shifts to occur that are occurring. And both are true. But the only way to witness a mud wrestling match in divine neutrality, which allows you then to not get tangled in it, is to not give it meaning at the level of the separation game, at the level of the separation simulation. And it gets tricky because we still have to navigate that. How do we navigate what's real and what's not? And so the idea is we're going to anchor into our own light. We're going to anchor into our truth. We're going to anchor into our own guidance system to show us the way. And so we're going to bring that in next, but we're going to make sure the energetic cleanup, we got to do a couple more pieces with that. So inviting you at the level of your higher self, bodies, higher self, and teams to work with the energetic fields and the guides to reference anywhere you have attachment placed externally on any mud wrestling matches in the collective, retrieve all that attachment off, all that control, creative energy, psychic energy, retrieve it, retrieve it, retrieve it, clean it, recalibrate it, re-embed it. And anywhere else in the time spiral continuum where you are attached to a similar play out, and this play out in this particular incarnation is a reflection of what played out prior. Could have been Atlantis, could have been a different era where there was conflict. Retrieve all your attachment, set up appropriate debriefs at the end of those incarnations where you can do that thorough energetic cleanup and complete forgiveness and release of everyone involved, including self, from the recognition that it's all learning, it's all for growth, it's all for evolution. There is only one life, that is source. And every being in existence has a spark in the heart of source. They are part of source. Every single being has a divine spark in the heart of source, no matter what they're currently expressing as in the physical dimension or in other dimensions. So we're just helping you orient to the oneness. Are you willing to release all the meaning you've given the stories of separation, conflict, lack, fear, the not enoughness, so that you can remember who you are without it, how you function beyond it? And are you willing to forgive and release all those stories, all those playouts in all time frames and dimensions where you've ever expressed yourself? Are you willing? And the willingness is really all that's required, because then your higher self can kick in to do the forgiveness, and then you move into allowing, letting it happen. Will you let it happen? Will you let your higher self support you in completely forgiving and releasing, in using those experiences to activate the vibrations of the spiritual lessons you were after and adjust your vibrational stance appropriately so that you can move into that higher octave in a more consistent way and sustain it without getting kind of rubber banded back into the mosh pit or the mud pit. And we're just holding space for that. You don't have to know all the scenarios. We're just creating a space here for you to partner with your higher self, body deva with its higher self, to heal, to evolve, to use the fuel to evolve. And what if none of it means what you think it means? Will you let your higher self interpret it? Your higher self has access to so much more information from a higher perspective. And if there's a hard time letting go, it's like kind of there's part of us that wants to be right about something. Ask yourself why. Why is this so important to me? Usually we feel safe, perhaps, if we're right about something. Or it could be if they're the wrong one, then I'm like not wrong. So just notice these things. The awareness is the biggest chunk of the healing, to be aware of what's actually happening, of what our consciousness is actually doing. And we've said this before, but just a reminder, all of the systems that were built in separation consciousness to control, to manipulate, to disempower, to devalue, what's actually available for people, the abundance that's available. It's like to limit it. That cannot sustain in the new earth. So as you ascend in frequency, you start to draw to you new ways of functioning outside of those parameters, outside of those structures that were built to control and to perpetuate lack and limitation. And it's, again, this is a challenge. It's not that those structures are wrong and bad. Those structures that were built to limit, to control, from one perspective, yes, they're wrong and bad, but that's a 3D, 4D perspective. From a higher perspective, they're a catalyst for you to awaken to your power, for you to choose around it, for you to tap into your infinite supply within you, regardless of what you're told externally is possible. So it's, in a way, it's something to push against to evolve even more. So from the perspective of the evolution of consciousness, the obstacles or the things we would label as wrong and bad are actually having the opposite effect of what they're intended to do. So they're intended to oppress, and actually they ignite within those who are ready, i.e., star seeds, to go around it, to create a new way, to say no, to set boundaries, to get stronger in what we're choosing to align and agree with, to awaken more to our power. So what if you could reframe how you relate to all those things that have maybe felt to you something you wanted to fight against, something you wanted to push against, something you wanted to take a sledgehammer to, and recognize, oh, actually, that was what created a fire in me to make a shift in a certain way, or it's in the midst of that. I'm in the midst of that. It's a catalyst for me and my evolution. And certain people can play those roles of catalyst. Certain groups can play those roles of catalyst. It's all a catalyst from a higher perspective. From a higher perspective, we mapped out our journey to include a catalyst, something to push against, something to awaken us, something to encourage us into our power more, into our divine nature more, into our creative current, to create new ways of being beyond the limitation, the lack, the separation. And so we're going to invite you, to the degree that you choose, to work with your higher selves, body, team, same, to reinterpret your relationship with all those wrestling matches, obstacles, catalysts, to a higher octave. You can see it through a new lens. You can have a new stance in relationship to it, a new empowered stance where you're no longer giving power to that external situation, circumstance, thing, and inviting you now to retrieve all your power back off of those catalysts back to you. Inviting your higher self, body's higher self, to activate and amplify more of your own unique aspects of your power within you that those catalysts were pushing the button for you. What do they symbolize? What are you being invited into? Oh, well, I'm experiencing that this structure will not let me be free. Well, then you're being invited to retrieve all responsibility for your freedom off the external back to you, and to activate even more freedom in your column of light, because you have an infinite supply of freedom within you. It's never dependent upon what is outside of you. That's an example. And then you ride these waves fully empowered, not getting tangled at all in the chaos, in the overwhelm, in the house of cards falling. So what is it that you're afraid might go away? What are you afraid of losing as things transform, as things evolve? Take a moment and notice, jot it down. And recognize that each of you, to a certain degree, are highly empathic because you're evolved considerably more than others. You wouldn't be here doing this work if you were not. That is not an ego-based comment. That is simply what is. You wouldn't be able to have these kinds of conversations if you weren't at a certain level of evolution and awakening. You wouldn't be able to hear us. You wouldn't be able to understand what we were even saying. It wouldn't make any sense to you, and it probably wouldn't resonate, and it might even make you angry or frustrated. So because you're empathic, probably 90%, 80 to 90% of what you're afraid of losing is actually you empathically feeling the collective and what they're afraid of losing. So we're going to bring that in first, inviting you at the level of your higher self, Body Davis higher self and teams, to scan your fields for all the empathic stuff you are feeling that is not yours, the fear of loss and any other pieces from being in the mosh pit, from being in the mud pit. That's empathic. It's their stuff. Fear of lack, they're saying, fear of loss of self. It's like this fear of not being comfortable, fear of change. And just take a moment. It's like fear of not being safe and supported. Retrieve all of that out of your fields. It's like locate it and return it back to its right and perfect place, higher self of you. Locate it, return it, send information. Give it back to humanity. Give it back to ancestors. Return it, return it, return it. Eternal responsibility for it back to them, send information. Keep returning it, send information. Okay, there's another layer I'm seeing I'm going to address before we do the guidance piece. Keep returning it. You, your body, your teams, just imagine this orb around you spinning off everything that's not yours, all the empathic, fear of loss, fear of lack, fear of change, fear of ascending, fear of losing self. It's like this fear of not being capable. It's like lack of belief in self. All the lack of worth, lack of self-love that's not yours. Return it, send information, return responsibility. And then the other layer I'm seeing is we're going to invite a balancing and stabilizing before we do this. Update all grids, all reference points, all ways in which you perceive and are perceived. So we did do a piece inviting you to release your attachment off the stories and off the mud pit. But what I'm seeing is this next layer is where we've entered into something with good intentions. It's like a meditation for peace, or we did a healing for humanity at some point, maybe by ourselves or with a group, or for a particular country. We want to do a healing for that country. And we sent peace, or we sent love and light. So this is a challenging one because we have a very radical perspective. What the guides are showing me is this idea of as you ascend to 5D and beyond, from separation to unity consciousness, it's this idea of passing through the eye of the needle. You need to be completely in your own lane, not attached at all or responsible for any other being but you. Why? Because it's the divine design. When you were incepted as a spark in the heart of source, point of creation, point of origin, you were given free will for you as a being to choose for you, to create for you, linked directly with your divine blueprint. Divine said, I'm being shown the image of holding a bird and letting it fly. It's like, go be you. Choose for you, create for you. And in separation consciousness, we get tangled in trying to create for others. We were never meant to do that. We were never designed to create for another, even if it appears benevolent. We were never designed to create peace for another. We were never designed to take our fabric, our attachment, our creative current, and place it on another. That's separation consciousness. And that's the horizontal ways of being, where we're reaching horizontally our energy instead of holding it vertically, that gets us tangled and tethered to the separation simulation. So even if it doesn't make sense to the intellect, and there's part of us that, oh, well, that sounds really virtuous to do that, to send peace or to want peace for them. And we say to you very compassionately, it is actually out of integrity with the divine design to want for another. It's equivalent to trying to choose for another. Which puts you, links you into the separation consciousness grids and locks you at a lower dimensional reality, 4D and below, 4D, 3D. So take a moment just from presence, and you don't have to do this. This is just an invitation. You can ask your higher self to bring that in as a download for you in a way that you can receive it if it resonates. But what I see energetically is when we want for another, it's a desire. Our creative energy will follow that desire. So your creative current, it's like threads of your creative current go out like little tentacles onto that thing or that country or that person and tries to create for them what that desire is, whether it's, I want peace for you. So then we just tried to choose for them, which other side of that, not only is it out of integrity with the divine design, it disempowers them because they have free will. They might not want peace for themselves, which sounds weird, but they might not. They might be on a different, very different leg of their journey, or they want to be in the struggle to get stronger in a certain way. And we can't possibly know that. That's for their higher self to know for them. So not only, it's like a lose-lose. It's not even, this idea of win-win, right? Win-win is unity consciousness. It's a lose-lose when we want for another because we dilute our own creative current. So we now don't have all of our creative current on us to create for us. We've now disempowered the other. And now we're out of integrity with the divine design. We're linked into separation consciousness. We're going to start experiencing more lack, more limitation, all of the stuff that comes with separation consciousness because we've chosen to run our energy horizontally. And basically, we're choosing separation consciousness over unity consciousness, even if it appears virtuous to the mind. And so this one takes a while to undo, but we're going to bring in an energetic process to make it a little bit easier and to decrease the empathic loop that's happening, that I see happening for many of you, where we've wanted for someone to be different or a country or a situation. We place our energy on it, start streaming our creative energy on it. We then empathically feel their struggle, their whatever, their messy, their mud wrestling that's going on. And we start to be empathically impacted by their world, what they're going through. And we can even start to download their challenges into our field, their karma into our field, and try to process it for them. Can you see how that's very disempowering? Because their karma, their challenges are there for their own evolution. They're going to use those things to jet fuel themselves when they're ready to. But if we're holding them in our fields, they don't have those pieces, those jet fuel packs for themselves. We've taken them from them. thinking, I know what's best for you. I can do this for you. I'm more evolved than you, which is a little arrogant. So here's the energetic cleanup. I invite you to take a deep breath in, orienting to your column of light. You are a being of light. You are one with an infinite source. We're going to support you in linking in with a divine design of only being attached and responsible for you to the degree that you choose. And as you invite your higher self, bodies, higher self, and teams to scan your fields for anywhere you have your attachment, your desire placed externally, your creative current placed externally onto another, wanting them to be at peace, wanting them to not struggle, wanting them to be different than they are. Retrieve all that wanting, that desire, that creative current off of them, clean it, recalibrate it, re-embed it on you, for you. And the other layer to that is you might have even given them some of your gifts, your wisdom, your mastery to try to use. They can't use your gifts, your wisdom, your mastery. They have to conjure their own. That's what they're in the process of. They're in the process of evolving, conjuring their own wisdom, their own mastery, their own gifts within their own fields. And so retrieve all your gifts, your wisdom, your mastery you may have given them, placed externally on them, clean it, recalibrate it, re-embed it, all your resources, all your energetic resources off of them, clean it, recalibrate it, re-embed it from all incarnations in all time frames and dimensions where you express yourself, past, present, and future. Clean it, recalibrate it, re-embed it on you, for you. You might feel a pretty major energetic shift with this. And maybe encouraging you, if you choose to say out loud, if it resonates, I am in my own power. I am in energetic integrity. I choose to be in greater energetic integrity. I choose to use all my gifts on me, for me, in my own fields to create for me according to the divine design. And then another sweep of scanning for any empathic challenges, issues you might have been holding in your fields that are theirs. Return it, send information, return responsibility. Every time you do it a little better, a little more thoroughly. And then that takes you out of that empathic loop. And so you're no longer feeling, at least as loudly, their stuff, their challenges, their issues. And you're not holding magnetic attraction in your fields for their path. Because you're letting them tend their own path. You're letting them tend their own evolution. Good. And then retrieve any responsibility you may have given them, which sounds weird, but I heard a very it's like well-known light worker the other day say something like they were able to help someone make someone feel better, and that made them feel good about themselves. And I was like, ooh. So that's an indicator that we've placed reference points for our worth on our ability to help someone. An external thing, right? If I can make this person, if I can heal this person, I'll feel good about myself. If I can make them smile, I'll feel good about myself. If they're feeling down and I somehow, or guilty, and I somehow make them feel less guilty, then I feel good about myself. So that's not the same thing as being lit up by being what you are in truth. It's referencing your worth on the ability to help someone, heal someone. And again, that's all definitions. So is it helpful to take someone's guilt away, or are they using that guilt to evolve themselves? And what would it feel like just to hold space for them to be in it and to reflect back to them what you're noticing, to help them become aware of what they're feeling, to help them become aware of what they may be processing, not from a place of trying to fix, just from a place of assisting them, encouraging them to cultivate more awareness around what it is they're in the midst of, from an empowered place. And again, it's not from trying to fix. That's where we get linked in the hamster wheel of separation consciousness, is we try to fix something for someone else. And then we take responsibility for them shifting in some way. So just notice that. That's just maybe a little seed we planted there. Retrieve all reference points for your self-worth, self-love off of how others perceive you, how others feel in your presence. Only be attached and responsible for how you feel in your presence. Only attached and responsible for your inner world, for your inner environment, for your own clay. It's like molding your own clay. Let them mold their clay. And they may perceive you very differently than how you actually are. And that's not for you to control. Balance and stabilize, update all grids, all reference points, all ways in which you perceive and are perceived. So we always want to reference our self-worth in direct connection with our essence, our spark, what we are in truth, which has infinite value. What we could do or not do in the external is like they're showing me a grain of sand compared to the worth, the value you actually are. So anchor into that worth, that value that you actually are. Okay, deep breath in. Okay, I've got more things I want to cover here. We might go a little bit more than an hour. We'll see what happens. I am going to invite, though, for that guidance piece to come through. The guides were showing me. Okay. Okay. So they want me to talk a little bit about something else before they bring that in, and I have a feeling it's going to contribute to that. So they're wanting you to take a moment just to, first of all, notice how you feel now compared to how you felt when we began the session. Scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most harmonic. Okay. And you can put it in the chat if you want. I just noticed Zoom always changes their things, which is what it is. There's evolution and growth happening everywhere. But I have to click something to see the new posts, so I'll have to watch for that. Okay. So you may have already gotten the memo that we're going to be offering a new series starting next week on the 26th of April, 3-week series for harmonizing the divine masculine. The guides want to talk a little bit about why they're bringing that forward now. Because honestly, I questioned it. I was like, really, that's what we're bringing? That's what you want to bring forward? They're saying it's not going to be what most people think it's going to be. It's different. So what they show me is this idea of a flower blooming. And for a flower to bloom, it has to feel supported to bloom. So there is this divine feminine rising era that we're in. It's like the divine feminine is being invited to bloom. And in order for the divine feminine to bloom, the divine masculine within must be fully stable, established, and harmonized, so that the divine feminine has a structure, a safe, supportive structure within which to bloom. And for most of the healing journey, they're just showing me there's been some work with the divine masculine within, but there's a call now for a more targeted, focused healing of the divine masculine within, because of the current phase and the vantage point that we are at. And so they keep showing me astrology, and they show me how Saturn, I might be way off in this. This is what I'm being shown. Saturn represents this structure element. and think of it as the structure for the birthing, for the rebirth, needs to be stabilized. It needs to be harmonized. It needs to be strengthened. It needs to be refined. And there are divine masculine aspects within each of us that are being invited to heal, transform, evolve, harmonize, to be moved into the harmonic so that we can navigate this blooming in the most balanced, harmonic way possible. And so here's some things that they showed me they want me to mention, and they're just saying, feel into the resonance of this for you. If you have experienced that you're unable to manifest what you desire, that you felt unstable mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, that you have challenges trusting yourself or your journey, that you can't get traction moving forward, that you feel unmotivated, feeling not supported or safe in certain areas of life, that you had a challenge setting healthy and holding healthy, strong boundaries, that there's maybe a lack of confidence or lack of belief in self. And that the other one they showed me is if you're a female looking for a male mate, or if you're a being looking for a masculine mate, and you've never been able to attract the appropriate masculine mate, that's an indicator that the divine masculine within hasn't fully healed, integrated, processed, harmonized. And so what they're showing me now is this idea of helping the divine masculine within to move into this, it's like its own stabilized, harmonized, energetic stance, knowing of who it is in truth. And again, it's an aspect of our consciousness. So each of us have a divine masculine within, divine feminine within. And as that moves into its harmonic balance state, the feminine then feels safe to bloom, to harmonize, to birth, to create what it's aligned for it to create. And it's really as a whole. So rather than thinking of them as separate energies, they show it to me as another, it's like an infinity symbol. The divine masculine and the divine feminine work together in creation, in balance. And so if it resonates to journey with us for that series, that's what we're going to be about. And so we're not asking you to trust us, that this is what you need at this time. We're asking you to trust your own resonance with what we just spoke to. Are those pieces things that you felt challenged with? And if so, again, that's an indicator that this is what you're calling forth for you to support you in moving into greater wholeness within you so that you move forward in this rebirth in a more balanced, connected, harmonized way. And so feel free to reach out to us to learn more about that. It is on our website at embracingtheinfinite.com and in our online store there. And we'll put a link below this video when we post it on YouTube to that series. There's also an aspect of the empowered. Let me ask them to speak to that. Okay. They're saying if you felt disempowered in your journey, in certain areas of life, maybe in getting traction again, moving forward beyond wounds or certain patterns and scenarios that keep repeating, they're saying that can be an indicator of the divine masculine within you feeling disempowered and not fully able to move beyond it. And so that's one of the things we're going to look at in this series is how do we support in the completing of those hamster wheels so that the divine masculine can move into that harmonized, balanced, stabilized, strong, connected support for the divine feminine to do its thing. And it's again, it's both and, right? They work together. And they just want me to speak to one more piece on that. One of the things that I think is challenging and why we maybe have neglected in our healing journey, healing the divine masculine, we worked more on the feminine, is that what we perceive right now, because we're coming out of a cycle was a patriarchy, right? That's dissolving. And so we perceive that the masculine was somehow like too powerful. So we focused on empowering the feminine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what we're not recognizing is that we've lived cycles and eras where it was a matriarchy. And those divine masculine aspects within us may not have fully healed from that. And so what happens in polarity is the pendulum will swing both ways, right? Matriarchy, patriarchy, matriarchy, patriarchy. And so, yes, we want to heal the divine feminine wounds, but we also want to make sure we don't neglect the divine masculine wounds that we may have been carrying for eons, and we were waiting to be awake and aware enough so that we could utilize the time spiral continuum and these types of energetic protocols that we do in these sessions to heal old ancient wounds of the divine masculine that are affecting our present current experiences of not being able to feel safe, supported, move forward, all of those things. And so manifest, they're saying again. So you can feel into whether it resonates to journey with us in that series. And it does feel to me like it's going to surprise me. It's one of those that there are going to be things that come in that I didn't see coming, that are new, that like wow moments, you could say. And that does include the 3 90-minute transmissions. And it's 90 minutes minimum. Sometimes they go a little bit long. I always just follow the energy and what wants to come through. But also you get 2 nights a week of dream time work to support the work we're doing in the transmissions. And they showed me this morning when I was walking the dog, there may be some supplemental recordings. So that can mean that we record a separate, like 10 or 15-minute process for you to utilize, or it can mean that we pull from one of the transmissions a 10 or 15-minute snippet as a separate track for you to use. So I'm not sure how that will show up, but they show me the possibility of that this morning, that it'll probably be one or the other, depending on how it flows. And so that'll be included as well in that series. Okay. So the guidance, let's look and see what wants to happen with the guidance. Again, just take a deep breath in, inviting you to retrieve all your energy, your focus, your awareness into the now, vertical, internal, and notice how you feel now. Do you feel different than you felt at the beginning of the session? And maybe again, gauge it 0 to 10. Maybe you feel more present or more at peace or more lighter, more empowered, more connected. So as we mentioned, there are these 2 worlds. And your experience of this time will be colored by what world you're choosing to abide in. It's frequency. And your frequency is directly linked with how much you are in your own lane. The more you are in your own lane, only attached and responsible for you, the more coherent harmonic, your fields will be the higher frequency you will be broadcasting and abiding in. It's why we stress it so much. They're just showing me this corridor of that we're in, that's already happening, where the house of cards starts to fall. And it's like this falling away of what cannot go with us into New Earth, into 5D and beyond. And for those who are in the strong, coherent, harmonic 5D, the majority of the time, it will be like they're having a completely different experience, world, than those who are in the mud pit. And in order to navigate this time, we're being invited to connect deeply into our own inner wisdom, remembering what we pointed to at the beginning of this session with regard to, okay, there's a play out happening. It could be this story, it could be another story, but it's all about frequency. I'm not going to get attached to the story, but I'm going to be aware of the story. Because it's like as we navigate, there are certain things we need to navigate. Go here or go here. Do this or do that. Or do nothing. And so ideally, we are anchored in our own inner wisdom, stabilizing, balancing, harmonizing ourselves every day, cleaning our fields every day, so that we maintain and sustain the energetic environment within us that allows us to hear our guidance. It's like regulating our nervous system accordingly, appropriately, using our tools when we feel like we're deregulated, like we're getting agitated about something, upset about something. Okay, let's link in with higher self, body Deva, let's do this together if you want. And let's invite for whatever this symbolizes to move the way it wants to move. Feel what we need to feel. Be willing to forgive and release what it symbolizes within our consciousness. We don't have to consciously know. We just have to be willing to release the meaning we're giving it. We have to be willing to release the attachment to, oh, it's about this thing out here that's doing this to me. Instead of, oh, that's the catalyst. Now let's use our fuel to shift our vibration, to shift our stance in the empowered way. And maybe you re-listen to this recording to help you do that, to help you move into the right alignment, to help you move into perceiving it differently from a more empowered place, more connected place. And so as we traverse this corridor, it's like knowing the old is going to start to fall away. There's an empowerment in knowing that. Oh, it's time. It's time for the molting. It's time for the shedding of the structures that cannot sustain. And I am supported by the light within me no matter what. I have an infinite supply at source level no matter what. My safety is not dependent upon any of these external situations, circumstances, or things. My safety is within me. And so these are all things you can do to entrain your fields into that vertical stance. And we do encourage you every single day, to the degree that it resonates, to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to remind yourself of sourcing source within and how to do it. Higher self, will you help me? Guides, will you help me? Teams, will you help me? Model, show me. Ascended masters, will you model? Will you show me? Will you remind me? Energetically. And again, you're inviting for an energetic remembering. You're inviting your energetic fields to move into a particular orientation more than you're inviting an intellectual sentence that you can interpret with the mind. You're inviting a vibrational remembering. And then when it's complete, you invite a balancing and stabilizing, updating all grids, all reference points. So with this idea of guidance, in order for us to get guidance, we first of all need to connect within and retrieve all responsibility for your wisdom, for your guidance off of everyone and everything external, including your guides, back to you at the level of your higher self. Invite your higher self, body's higher self, to retrieve all responsibility for connection, for guidance off of the external, off of anything outside of you. It's going to sound weird to the mind, but you want to hold the energetic responsibility for the guidance, for the clarity, for the connection, and then invite your higher self to activate and amplify even more clarity, more connection within you. The connection and the clarity will reflect then onto your grids, onto your relationship with your guides, your advisors. We're just witnessing that now. And you might say to yourself, I trust the wisdom within me. I reference the wisdom within. And this is your divine wisdom, far beyond the intellect, as an infinite being of light, your higher self, trusting that wisdom. And you can imagine a higher realm where you're sitting with your guides, your higher self, your body's sitting with its guides, its higher self, your teams are all there. Maybe your spiritual family's there from your world. And in this higher realm, you have the clarity. You gather all the data. You get the clarity there in the higher realm. And then that becomes what pulses you, directs you. Many of you that do these sessions with us have a very refined knowing. Your knowing is your primary divine communication, how you get guidance. Some of you are clairsentient, you feel it. Some of you are clairvoyant, some of you are clairaudient. But play with the idea that all of you here to some degree have the clairgnosis, the knowing, and that is the most accurate because it combines all of the clairs. It's like a synopsis of all the data that's been gathered. And what would it feel like to trust your knowing even more? And it can be really challenging to trust our knowing because we don't have the proof that it's right. It's always in hindsight. But what would it feel like to trust your inner wisdom, your knowing in a greater way, and to allow it to guide you through this energetic corridor, and to trust the light that flows within you to support you, to trust your own energetic coherence to be what generates the coherence in the external for you. And when you focus on that, you hold all your hands on your own clay. Well, I'm only going to be attached to my own coherence, my own harmonic fields, cleaning my fields, making sure I'm only attached, responsible for me. And then I'm in alignment with the divine design, linked into 5D and beyond, and I'm in a different world for this transition into new earth, this rebirth. And then you start to align with the divine synchronicity and everything that supports you, that's meant for you to be, do, and have, that honors the aspect of life that is you, because you are being in alignment with the aspect of life that is you. You are in integrity with yourself. You're in integrity with the divine. You're in integrity with all life. and that will reflect accordingly. And so you know how you get your guidance, how you know what you know. And maybe you ask a question before you go to bed and you ask to be shown in dream time, or you ask to be pulsed accordingly. And the one thing we will highlight here is make sure you're letting your higher self hold the responsibility for the clarity in that higher dimension where you're communing with guides and advisors. And you're not holding all the energetic weight to have the clarity here at small self level, because you won't have access to all the information. And the other piece that we want to layer in here that we want to highlight, we mentioned including the body deva in the process, in that higher dimension. The body deva has access to different data than you have access to, even your higher self. The body deva is an aspect of Gaia Earth. The body deva links into certain dimensions of Earth that you don't. It gathers different data than you do. So you want to include the body deva and its guides and its team in that divine collaboration as a very important part of the clarity. And your body deva may have given you as a soul all the responsibility for the clarity. And you want to say, oh, but body deva, you're deeply wise. Also, you're part of Gaia Earth. You hold appropriate responsibility for your own clarity. I'll hold appropriate responsibility for my clarity. And then we'll wonder twin powers activated in a higher realm where we combine it all and get really clear. There we go. Letting that redistribute appropriately. Body deva, own your wisdom. You are a wise nature spirit of Earth. Your body deva has mastery of things you don't have mastery of as a soul. Swallow that one. Sometimes we can think that we're more evolved, and we are in certain ways than the body deva, but not in all ways. So let the body deva own its power and come. It's like bring its wisdom to the table as part of the collaboration. We're going to get through this together. We are in this together. You, body and teams, guides, Earth, each of us in the pod of this evolution, Team Harmonic. It's all about the harmonic. And so when we make that our focus, it's like we can put our focus however we direct it, correct? So we can put our focus on the mud pit and what's happening in the mud wrestling, or we can place our focus on, okay, who am I in truth? How do I want to hold my fields today? How do I want to move into greater coherence today? What primary vibration do I want flowing within me today? Is it peace? Is it love? Is it just simply being, knowing what I am in truth, that I'm connected, that I'm supported? And so you can play with that, and it might be different every day, but encouraging you to just like sit at the helm of your ship and choose in the direction of what's desired, using your desire on you, for you, to create for you. We invite a balancing and stabilizing of all your energetic fields, updating all grids, all reference points, all ways in which you perceive and are perceived. Notice how you feel now. We want to thank you. Thank you for showing up. It was glorious to co-create with you today for this live transmission. And the recording will be available on the YouTube channel shortly if you want to re-listen as many times as you'd like. And feel free to share your feedback below the video once we post it. We'd love to hear from you. And we will also include the link to journey with us for the 3-week series, Harmonizing the Divine Masculine Within. And if you wish to share a love offering contribution, we had some people ask in the past. I just shared a link in the chat. It's also on our website at embracingtheinfinite.com under love contribution or love offering. Love donation, I think it says actually on the menu. And we'll put a link below this video. It's not required. It's just an option. Some people want to provide an energetic exchange, and you can. You can also like and share this video. That helps people find us. So we want to thank you again for your courage to evolve consciously and your willingness to journey through this corridor in the most empowered way that you can, that's available to you. Much love to each of you. And thank you again for showing up.